saying Jewish community leaders were arrested, probably to take them to the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, where the Koreans had been living while the Korean Peninsula was under Japanese occupation. When the Japanese scattered from Korea, the Koreans gave up the JAO, so we're looking at 1934 onwards. And Stalin formed the only Jewish state, the only democracy in Asia, which was the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, and that still exists today, obviously, but Azerbaijan. So Harbin was under Soviet occupation. Jewish community leaders were then arrested and sent to the Soviet interior, so that must be the Jewish Autonomous Region, which won't be mentioned in any Jewish history lessons, because they only sort of just touch on it now, because otherwise, the legitimacy of Israel would come into question, as it should. So Rabbi Alexander Kisilev, the chief rabbi of Harbin and the Jewish communities in the Far East, passed away in Harbin in 1949. The same year, an illegal Jewish committee was formed in Harbin. It was headed by Shlomo Spivak, representing the Zionist movement, Teddy Kaufman and Pavel Shmushkevich, representing the Maccabees, the Yaakov Tandlet, Boris Mirkin, and Vera Klein, representing the Betar. So pretty well set up there, However, most Jews of Harbin emigrated to the West in the years after World War II. During 51 to 53, about 3,500 of the former Chinese Jews, most of them from Harbin, settled in Israel, where they established a society of Chinese Jews. The cemetery was moved from its old location in Huangshan during 1968 to 1962. I don't know why that's that way. The year that marked the end of the Jewish community in Harbin. The last Jew in Harbin left in 1985. Old Jewish schools, streets and houses are kept intact or have been renovated. Among these old buildings are two synagogues, a rabbinical school, and the biggest Jewish cemetery in the Far East, where there are about 700 gravestones with Hebrew inscriptions. One of the prominent reminders of the Harbin Jewish community is the architecture of the old districts of Harbin, with the former Jewish quarter serving as a major tourist attraction. Yes, let's all go to Harbin to see the Jewish architecture, sure. Most of the elegant old Western-style buildings dating to the early 1900s were built by the Jews, sure, have been well preserved. They are scattered throughout the entire city that Jews built, because there was no city there before, it was just villages, especially in the neighbourhood of Pristan, an area that used to be the centre of the religious, political and economic and cultural activities of Jews of Harbin. In the early 2000s, Jews who represented Israeli and other international companies are renewing their business interests in Harbin. Oh, what a surprise. And other principal Chinese cities, Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Guangdong. The list goes on and on. A Jewish research centre was opened in Harbin in April 2000, which is the Year of the Dragon. It is affiliated with the Heilongjiang Academy of Social Sciences. Heilongjiang is the name of the province, and I think it's actually the largest province in all of China. What a surprise. The centre's director, Lu Shuoxiao, has visited Israel twice. One of the centre's major projects is to reconstruct the history of one of the largest Jewish communities in the Far East that was centered in Harbin. And Zvia Bowman, the constructor of the China... Oh, that's just some stuff. Anyway, you can find that on... there's the URL. So that's a jaunt out Jewtown. There's actually home to Harbin Synagogue to be renovated. So the Times of Israel is saying that the Harbin, a new tourism scheme by the Chinese government sets its eyes and its funds on an area once home to 23,000 Jews, including a former Prime Minister's grandparents. Have you seen the picture of Jiang Zemin? You all know who Jiang Zemin are, don't you? The little cat. Jiang Zemin. Yarmouk. What's this now? It's the former Premier of the People's Republic of China, or the Jewish Republic of China, as it should be called. So the Harbin municipal government has announced its decision to reconstruct and renovate the Harbin main synagogue. This despite the fact that today there is but one Jew who calls Harbin home, Dan Ben Canaan, a professor of research and writing methodology at Heilongjiang University School of Western Studies, who relocated there in 2002, long after Jewish communal life ceased to exist. Not that long really, 1985. Harbin, China, today the capital of Heilongjiang Province, while perhaps best known for its ice festival, was once known as the Moscow of the East. Zemin archive in the Jewish Journal. Right, there's definitely a picture of him. Because I've even got it myself. Right, let's see. Israel. You know who he is now, don't you? Yeah, there he is. He's a Jew. Claw flipping Jews. That's not Jiang Zemin. You never know. You may even find out why this is important one day. Oh, is that Kissinger then? I'm sure that was Kissinger there with someone of importance. Yeah, who's that? Who is that? It's definitely President Jiang Zemin meets Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller in 1995. Now this Jiang Zemin fella, what he was president. But what he done was he relinquished the presidency to President Xi, you know, who we know now is the, what is he? The only leader China can have, and he doesn't believe in protectionism, and he's investing all this money in Africa and Israel. This much here, President Xi. Yeah. So what it was reported, well, I saw it in the news, him, the Jiang Zemin, he gave the presidency to President Xi in all except the military, and Jiang Zemin continued to run the military. So in October 1985, Asia Society co-hosted a corporate conference in New York City titled China and China-US Relations Towards a New Century. In the above photo from the event, then Chinese President Jiang Zemin shook hands with David Rockefeller, former CEO of Chase Bank and brother of the late Asia Society founder John D. Rockefeller III, while former US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger looked on. Kissinger, who negotiated President Nixon's famous 1972 trip to China, which is actually a documentary that you've got to watch, would pave the way to nominalise China-US relations, has met with Jiang on numerous occasions. So Henry Kissinger met with Jiang Zemin on numerous occasions. So who is Henry Kissinger? So Henry Kissinger, born Heinz Alfred Kissinger, is an American elder statesman, political scientist, diplomat, and geopolitical consultant who served as United States Secretary of State and National Security Advisor under the presidential administrations of Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. Well, he certainly served under Gerald Ford while he was serving under Richard Nixon, because Gerald Ford done exactly as Kissinger wanted. A Jewish refugee who fled Nazi Germany with his family in 1938, he became National Security Advisor in 1969. So it took him 31 years to go from a refugee to becoming the National Security Advisor of the United States Secretary of State. So for his actions negotiating a ceasefire in Vietnam, Kissinger received the Nobel Peace Prize under controversial circumstances, with 2 members of the committee resigning in protest. Kissinger later sought unsuccessfully to return the prize after the ceasefire failed. There's a word in Irish, gobshite. That's exactly what he is. So, let's do a Control F, shall we? Israeli policy and Soviet Jewry. So the foreign policy, because he was sort of like, that's his bag. According to notes taken by H.R. Haldeman, Nixon ordered his aides to exclude all Jewish Americans from policy making on Israel, including Kissinger. One note quotes Nixon as saying, "Get Kissinger out of the play. Haig, handle it." So I don't know who Haig is. Oh yeah. So he mustn't have been Jewish. But there's Nixon with, what's her name, Golda Meir. So in 1973, Kissinger did not feel that pressing the Soviet Union concerning the plight of Jews being persecuted there was in the interest of US foreign policy. Because he didn't like the competition coming in. These Jews, man, they don't like each other, because every next Jew is going to out-Jew the next Jew, and that's a whole lot of Jewing going on. So in conversation with Nixon shortly after the meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir on March the 1st, 1973, Kissinger stated, "The emigration of Jews from the Soviet Union is not an objective of American foreign policy, and if they put Jews into gas chambers in the Soviet Union, it's not an American concern, maybe a humanitarian concern," which is what the UN was supposed to be set up for. Now, the UN, as far as I know, never went into Soviet Union to help exclude refugee Jews. And certainly the Jews have never been put into any gas chambers ever, except hosed down for typhus, which is actually on record with the British sort of spraying them with like little divvy spray guns, like just to kill whatever lice or thingy that they may be carrying. There's no gas chambers. So Kissinger argued, however, that emigration existed at all was due to the actions of realists in the White House. Jewish emigration rose from 700 a year in 1969 to near 40,000 in 1972. The total in Nixon's first term was more than 100,000. To maintain this flow by quiet diplomacy, we never used these figures for political purposes. The issue became public because the success of our Middle East policy, when Egypt evicted Soviet advisors to restore its relations with Cairo, the Soviet Union put a tax on Jewish emigration. There was no Jackson-Vanik amendment until there was a successful emigration effort. Senator Henry Jackson, for whom I had and continue to have high regard, sought to remove the tax with his amendment. We thought the continuation of our previous approach of quiet diplomacy was the wiser course. Events proved our judgment correct. Jewish emigration fell to about a third of its previous high. Now you've got to remember that with the fall of the Berlin Wall, this is where all the trouble, in my opinion, like not all the trouble, but further trouble, Jews are trouble. Just fall of the Berlin Wall was just bad news for the world. Jiang Zemin donned his black kippah and followed Pope John Paul's footsteps to the Western Wall last week, confident that the world's biggest atheistic state would soon receive a $250 million airborne surveillance system from Israel Aircraft Industries on schedule. Despite intense American pressure to cancel the deal, the signs are that he will receive the other 3 or 4 AWACS he also wants to buy. Prime Minister Ehud Barak promised Bill Clinton during their Washington summit early April that he would review the sales. So Jiang Zemin is in Israel. All this is changing. Israel has things that China wants, above all advanced military technology. What is this? This is from April 27, 2000. Israeli observers are convinced that the threats of aid cuts or a weakening of Israel's American safety net are nothing more than election propaganda. Why else would Washington force the issue now rather than 4 years ago when it was first advised of the transaction? That's on thejewishjournal.com. And as I say, it's called selling AWACS to China. So what have we got here? That's back to Harbin. Market watch. China investment markets recovery boost global economy. Oh, get a life. This is from the IMF. We all know who the IMF is, don't we? Well, the IMF, my friends, in case you didn't know, is Henry Kissinger and Christine Lagarde. Or at least Christine Lagarde works for Henry Kissinger. Should have a nice picture somewhere. Managing Director at 8 Henry. Oh my God. There's a picture of them together. Oh, bloody hell, there's pictures of them together everywhere. 2015, 2016. Where's the one where they're... Oh, yeah. How cozy is that? Hey, Henry Kissinger and Christine Lagarde. That not cozy? That looks cozy to me. Who's she with there now? some of the bums or whoever. Charlie Rose, got to be a duo, money. There they are again. That cozy or what? There they are again. Little whisper in the ear there. Right, so if you want the real lowdown on Kissinger, for coziness with the ladies, look no further than, what was her name, Spencer? Diana Spencer. There's Kissinger there. You know, body language. The chemistry going on there, I think. Lavishing the ladies. There are more pictures of them there. Now there's a cute one, isn't it? Do they look cozy? Do they look cozy? Oh yeah. There's even others that you can find yourself. There's tons of things going on in the world. What about the King of Spain? King Juan Carlos and Diana Spencer. Yeah, well, there's an obvious one, isn't it? But there is one with yeah, this one here. This is Prince William. That's King Juan Carlos there with Prince William, and Diana with Prince Harry. It's a scary picture. Because we all know Prince Charles is with the Jimmy Savile crew, don't we? We don't know what they like doing. Should be a better Princess. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's Charlie there, not really paying much attention. But there's Diana with Harry, and King Juan Carlos with William, and there's is it Queen Sylvia. So does that look a bit of a like they're the actual couple, and the stupid phone focuses, which it's not. But anyway, did Spain's King Juan Carlos, Prince Charles stares into the blah blah. You can have a look yourself. Right, let's get back on with these Jews. China, Belt and Road Initiative towards a British response strategy. So this is the British Foreign Policy Group website. Towards I hate it when they don't put dates on or things. Oh, 10th of April, yeah. which is today, obviously. Since its inception in 2013, China's Belt and Roads Initiative, the BRI, has seen enormous expansion over 2018. Over the first quarter of 2019, it's become President Xi Jinping's foreign policy brand. At present, the BRI aims to connect 71 economies through Europe, Asia and Africa with a vast belt of overland economic. Well, let me just think which convenient little base, little military hive sits right in the middle of all this BRI. Is that short for BRIS? Most significantly for Britain, the official opening in October 2018 of the Silk Motorway presaged its tangible appearance on the fingers of Europe. And I don't think there's anything actually wrong with trade between nations, but there's certainly something wrong between hegemony on trade and, jibber jabber going on, where let's do a Control F and see if Israel has got its noses in. And they have. Oh, I had Kinderman. She must be the student ambassador for the BFPG. She's in her final year. I think she must have wrote the article. She's she wrote about the Arab-Israeli thing, anyway. Nice work if you can get it. So this is Ecofinance Agency, ecofinagency.com. Public management. The OPEC shifts investment strategy with Africa amid the US-China trade tensions. So basically shekel wars. So the OPEC shifts investment strategy with Africa amid China. It's one of them websites that takes an age to it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be on fast dial-up. Togo Digital. I bet you they get faster speeds than me. You'd think I was living in Antarctica or somewhere. Amid its tensions with China, the USA is changing the strategy of Overseas Private Investment Corporation. In that framework, more funds will be provided to the corporation and a new strategy created. However, it will be difficult to compete with China's financings in Africa. Indeed, according to data compiled from the corporation's website, it appears that the total value of US active commitments in Africa since 2005 is $6.47 billion US. There is, however, an increased interest in the region. This year, 3 major commitments amounting to $100 million US have been taken. At the end of how much does $100 million US get you in Africa these days? Just throwing that out there, like. At the end of 2018, the total volume of OPEC's commitments in Africa was $840.6 million US. It is up by 42% year on year, and is also better than the 50.7% decrease recorded in 2016 and a measly 1.9% surge in 2017. The charts are just off the cake. The institution has elaborated a new strategy named Connect Africa for the sub-Saharan region. Notably, in 2017, the sub-region represented 27% of its commitments. The OPEC plans to invest an additional $1.2 billion US in the region within 3 years. OPEC will invest $1 billion US over 3 years to projects supporting telecommunications and internet access. What the heck do they need internet access for in the sub-Saharan Africa? Like, they're living in paradise. Like you've got lakes and rivers and trees and the sky and just like the nature. Why are you going to take selfies of yourself? Like, look at me next to the tree by the river. Is it me or is any of this making sense to anyone? China's giant shoe manufacturer. Oh my goodness. Oh, do you have an Egyptian here? He's definitely got to be a Jew. Certainly the what's his name? The Egyptian president. Egypt president. And Israeli president. New York. Right, so these two mushers, the Egypt's president hoping to be allowed to stay in office until 2034. Oh my God. Immigration, Israel, Lori Loughlin, your Tuesday evening briefing. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Yeah, here they are. So this Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, guess where he's from in Cairo? He's from the Jewish quarter. And there he is in New York with Netanyahu. Now, they've met for the first time in public and what Egypt said was part of an effort to revive Middle East peace process. In England here, we've got this, and he's got to be a Jew. This footballer, Mo Salah, and honest to God, if it's not rigged, like who's the other little Jew who plays for Barcelona? Yeah, is he a Jew or what? Got to be a Jew, money. I bet he's from the same place because he's from Egypt, like. And they all love him here, but I just don't get it. Yeah, I bet he's from the same district as the Egyptian guy, this Sisi and Salah. Anyway, so China's giant shoe manufacturer Huajin are pumping investments in Egypt. Good place to pump investments when you want shoes made, right? Shoes and pyramids. China's giant shoe manufacturer Huajin Group is expected to pump huge investments in Egypt's leather industrial area on the outskirts of capital Cairo, the Egyptian Trade and Industry Minister said in a statement on Wednesday. Amir Nasser, Egypt's Minister of Shoes, said the statement after his meeting with the delegation from Huajin, led the group's founder and chairman Zhuang Huarong, which was attended by Han Bing, the Minister of Shoes, Councillor for Economic Affairs at the Chinese Shoe Embassy in Cairo. Huajin targets pumping huge investments in the new Rubik Leather City, particularly finished leather products with high added value. So you'll probably get a bump in each shoe, or a camel toe, said the Egyptian minister. He revealed that the Chinese footwear producer also plans to establish a complete industrial zone near an international airport for some light industries, including textiles, electronics and home appliances. Egypt provides all forms of support to earnest investors. Come on, guys, what's going on? China's investing in Africa. Tanzania to participate in China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo. Tanzania. In Dar es Salaam, a Tanzanian trade authority has urged the East African nations' companies to capture the golden chance to provide by a trade expo to be held in China. The Tanzania Trade Development Authority, TanTrade, said in a statement issued on Wednesday that the country is set to participate in the first China-Africa Economic Trade Expo to be held in Changsha, the capital of central China's Hunan province, which I think is where well, Hunan. Yeah, I think Mao was from Hunan, wasn't he? Mao, the little Jew lackey. The statement signed by Tantrade Public Affairs and Communication Principal Officer Teresa Chilambo called on Tanzanian companies and individuals to capture the golden chance in participating in the expo. Now, you wouldn't believe it, but I know something about Tanzania. It's like, it just happens to be. You're going to love this. Tanzania, Jesuits in Britain. Tanzania, 1 month in Tanzania. East African Jesuits of East Africa. Who we are, the East African Jesuits. Why we support Jesuits in Tanzania. The Midwest Jesuits. Tanzania. For some reason, the Jesuits went to Tanzania. Don't know what that's about, like. Anyway, today the high cost of having China as Africa's partner of choice. There he is, the man of the hour, President Xi. The high cost. So, the date on 13th of March 2019, so it's fairly recent. So Africa's political leaders are failing the continent by allowing China to plunder its assets and resources. Now, if you've never seen, what's it called? China in Jamaica, not strictly Africa, but yeah, Jamaica taken over by the Chinese. Must see February 2018. China to take over Jamaica 100%. 730 million Chinese built highway opens in Jamaica. I mean, there's some big problems going on with China. China investment in Jamaica and region growing. Chinese, Jamaicans and Jamaicans. Now, oh yeah, watch this. What the? When's someone gonna send me flaming new computer? Jews in Jamaica. The history of Jews in Jamaica. The Jews of Jamaica. Which one do we want to go to? Oh, look at it, look at it. The heart and soul of Jewish Jamaica. Really? 2% it is. 2% Jews. The population. The Forgotten Jewish Pirates of Jamaica. How about that, eh? Let's have a look on the Smithsonian. Tell you what, man. You get your value out of the Jews when it comes to skullduggeries and all sorts going on. They're always forgotten, aren't they? The forgotten persecution of the Jewish pirates of Jamaica. While they were chasing down everyone's fortunes, the poor Jews were persecuted. Oh my God, it's like playing ping pong here, what the? Today, some tour operators and cultural historians are calling attention to the country's little-known Jewish heritage. Onwards we go. A grave marker in Kingston Hunt Bay Cemetery carved with the skull and crossbones and Hebrew lettering. This is where they were running all the slavery from. I was in Kingston's spooky Hunts Bay Cemetery, located in a shanty town near Red Stripe Brewery, tramping through high grass with a dozen